Can you hear us, Audra?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting. Today is Tuesday, September the 7th, 2021. Time is now 6 p.m. The regular meeting of the City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise for the pledge of allegiance? Stephen, would you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I won't.
Okay.
Thanks anyway.
Sky, would you please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ivana,
Here.
Burnock,
Here.
Trinidad,
Here.
Ogletree,
Here.
Sue,
Here.
Williamson,
Here.
Rico.
Here.
Bear with me on 1 second. That's all right.
Approval of the agenda, item 2. Any council have any changes? Call a motion.
Move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Call a vote.
Ivana,
Yes.
Burnock,
Yes.
Trinidad,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Policy items and staff reports. Mr. Valentine, anything to report?
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Petitions or communications are all written. I'll read the first letter if you can give me the, Rick wants to speak. Do have a letter here from Andrew Short. And this came through South Pace. It says, "Thank you again for your time today. I'm excited to work with you on defeating this proposition. As mentioned, Initiative 25 will become a proposition on Friday once assigned by the SOS. We anticipate it will become Proposition 119. Our issue committee, Coloradoans Against School Vouchers, will also change our name to No On Prop once we have the number Friday. With that, I'll work on creating an invite for Monday, September the 13th at 2:30 p.m. I am confirming with our pollster that he will be available then. We will look forward to meeting with those in the cannabis industry and going over what the proposition does and how we will defeat it, our coalition partners, and how much it will cost. Looking forward to also sharing the most updated polling we got back today. Once I confirm with availability with our pollster, I'll have an invite to you tomorrow evening. Thanks again, Andrew, and just a little bit of back information on this. This is what I mentioned, I think, last week at our work session where there's a ballot question coming up on cannabis. This group has already raised enough signatures to put it on the ballot. And what it will do is it will raise the current state tax from 15%, I think, to 18%. And then in another year after that, I think it will be up to either 19 or 20%. So there's a lot of concern over it. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't see where it's going to probably hurt like the Pueblo, the Springs, the Denver area, but the areas that are close to the border towns is where I think it's going to be the most challenging. So just thought I got that. Let me see which one that's. You have another one here. It says, "Dear Mr. Rico, I write to you today regarding the situation on Tillotson Street between San Juan and Alta. My home is situated halfway up the hill from San Juan Street, and the big draw for me is the view of Fisher's Peak. I never thought that there would be a junkyard of old cars and trucks, mostly unregistered in my view forever. My understanding is there is a city ordinance requiring any vehicle within view of the street must be properly registered with tags. I have invested over 300 hours and a significant portion of my retirement savings upgrading my home for the last few years as I watched the junkyard grow, and 3 other properties owned by the same man fall apart due to the lack of maintenance. Many other owners on the same block have made significant improvements to their property. We are all affected by a negative way, both with our quality of life, the views, and reduced property values. This type of behavior will not benefit the city as we try to grow and improve our life in Trinidad. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your response. Sincerely, David Wright, from 823 Tillotson Street, Trinidad, Colorado. Okay, we have 3 people signed up. Marcia?
Yes, thank you. Should I stand or can I just sit right here? It's okay?
If you're comfortable, that's fine.
Oh, I think, I have, I think, some of you already know why I've attended, and it's because of, the, Latin Fest and Blues Fest and the way it's been, put together and put on the intersection of Main and Commercial. There's a lot of changes in behavior that I've noticed, specifically this time around, about how the interactions and the letting people know, merchants know what's going to be going on. It's kind of sketchy, and when we see things being done that we weren't expecting to be done, and the manner in which it's being done, we're all a little bit shocked as to how people can behave in that manner toward merchants. It's almost as if they don't like us and we're in the way, to put it in a short sentence. And with, I know there's a lot of things going on in our country and our world that make tempers shorter and make us, I guess, a little easier to the point of flaring up over objections or being in somebody's way. I've tried to analyze it and understand it, and I don't. I've been doing business here for 17 years, and of course there have been upheavals to our businesses with streets being redone and construction and things like that going on. And sometimes it's hard, to stay positive about what we know is going to be a big improvement. But what I'm noticing is, I guess what I'm asking is, where is the civility anymore? And where is the mutual respect? And where is common sense, in fact? Where has it gone? And why should, as a merchant, I feel stressed out because someone is behaving in that manner where it's not helping my business and others in the same area as much as the people putting on the event are saying that it's supposed to be doing. It's not. It's actually negative in the fact that when these events go on, there's no one who goes up on the stage and says, as a public address, these businesses are open and we need to respect that, and we need to stay out of their doorways and not block their doors and not make it hard for ingress and egress of their customers. So there's no one telling them that, so we're having to handle it, and of course we're being met with hostility and just some real digging in the heels and acting like we're the ones that are wrong and we shouldn't be asking them to step aside or whatever to continue to do business through the day that it's open. I've had people come into my store from town and from around that are indirectly or directly linked to the Blues Fest and actually tell me that I should just lock my door down those days and not do any kind of business. And I don't think that really accomplishes what the fest event coordinators are saying that they're trying to achieve, which is more business, more traffic, etc. So the latest thing that I think And I think this is what has really been the hardest thing for me to accept or to deal with is when Rusty Goodall got up on stage and started hammering the city of Trinidad and dropping F-bombs and calling, just terrible, terrible words, very vulgar, about how the Blues Fest may not go on next year, and we've been told by the city that we may not be able to do it, and then that's when he started dropping his F-bombs. And here sits an audience who has come into this town, some people are from the town, but a lot, I would say the majority are not, they're from out of town. Some have just arrived and didn't know the fest was going on and stayed, and some of them, it was a destination point. They were going to come here for the Blues Fest. And here they are sitting there innocently waiting for the music to begin, and then this comes on stage and like a berserker just going off and yelling and screaming about how if they want this Blues Fest, they need to go down to the city council and tell the city council that, and then again, F-bombs, 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 and so that we can have this fest again next year. And I'm standing there, my customers are shocked, people are basically just going, well, where did that come from? And I felt sorry for the tourists that were subjected to it. I felt sorry for my customers. I felt angry. A multi, set of feelings just came up in me, and because it was shocking, and I couldn't believe that someone who supposedly has sat on city council, supposedly, has worked with the city so much, could actually go in that direction with such force and such violence.
One more minute, ma'am. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting your flow, but people have 5 minutes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I'm sorry. It's a 5 minute, so I'm very sorry for interrupting, but.
Okay, so that's why I'm here.
Excuse me.
So let me close that off, the grumbling and griping. And could I please hand this out real quick? Have Jared hand these to you?
Sure.
And have you look them over and do a quick explanation of what I looked at as far as maybe having it more organized, have any event, not just the Blues Fest, where the locations might be more beneficial, and where there will be some financial success for everyone involved. And here's some that we can pass out amongst whoever's here, if anyone cares, if you want to see those. And there are 5 restaurants in this area, there are 5 bars, there's 4 parking spots in this area between Animas and Commercial Street. And I think that there could be a lot achieved, like if the bars could serve people while they're seated, have menus maybe put in pouches on the chairs, behind the chairs, the seating, have people calling in orders and with enough room to put up tables where they can eat, and they can have booths there for vendors as well. So that's all. I'm sorry it took so long. I didn't realize there was only 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
Stephen Nealon?
Good evening. This is reminiscent of when years ago when I came to town, I tried to work with the city council over ADA violations. And to make a long story short, the case wound its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I won. And the issues I raised in 2016 in my lawsuit that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court are still occurring as I speak, and it occurred on the way over here. Now, there has been no precipitable change in the areas that I traverse. I'm disappointed about that. And there were people on this council that said, well, he won't file a lawsuit. If anybody's naive enough to believe that I won't file another lawsuit, they're naive. We have a problem. The Blues Fest can be described in one word, 2 words, physical barriers. And I tried to work with the owner or the sponsor, and he was disinterested. Well, there's a remedy for that, and it's in the federal courts. But I would rather work with council, but I'm not gonna let the council string me along for 2 years like they did the last time. On any given day, on any given sidewalk, they're broken. There's rocks, cans, carpets, chairs, and there's becoming an increasing problem with A-frame signs. Now, I was barred and barriered from accessing things that I was interested in buying. I believe in buying a local. That may surprise people, but it's true. And so the Blues Fest had, and I have pictures of this to prove it, they used construction netting to just close off the sidewalks until nobody could get through. You can't go on a scooter or wheelchair up on steps. So the curb ramps were blocked by construction netting. That's wrong. That's illegal. It's against the law, and it should have been corrected. And nobody was paying attention. So the disabled had a terrible time at the Blues Fest. The music may have been good, but the discrimination was bad. So I like the city, and I told them last year, I better not experience next year. They never had a handicap, a wheelchair accessible porta potty. Now that may not mean not much to some people, but it means everything to somebody in a wheelchair. And I have pictures of proof. They had 5 porta potties and no porta potty for the disabled. And that is illegal. And we all know it. And I do have a good rapport with Bob Just, your ADA coordinator. The problem is the issue is he's so overwhelmed, he's spinning his wheels on everything. The city came by and took out a section of my sidewalk where I live and left it for over a year. And the thing is 6 feet in length and I believe 4 foot in width. And it just stayed there. I couldn't use it. So I became practically marooned in my residence. So finally I got really upset about it. I kept talking to Bob Just's former predecessor, and they finally came back and fixed it. The bridge at Anima Street, I filed a grievance with the city. That's still unfixed. You can't get a wheelchair over that crack. It's that wide. And nobody's paying attention. Everybody's asleep at the wheel, and what we have here is bureaucratic inertia. Well, what this city needs to do is be taken to the federal woodshed and spanked with the ADA. And I'm willing to do that. And I'll let the court do the spanking. I want to work with you folks. But you got to work with the disabled community, and we need access here. And we don't have access. I file a lawsuit. It goes to the Supreme Court, and I have limited access as I sit here. That's wrong. It's wrong by any standard. And I call upon you, let's work together. You know, the disabled community is a part of your community. I mean, some people may not like that idea, but the fact is, we're all here. But then I made enemies because I want to get around town and live a normal life. A bunch of people got angry with me and shut down all things where I'm a publisher. And anybody sitting here knows we're the #1 news source. They lied to Facebook, said I was using it for criminal enterprise, and shut us down. So when Facebook finally did their investigation and cleared us, there's a glitch where we can't get back on because we can't get the codes we need to input to get our thing activated. I'm tired of being retaliated against.
1 minute, Stephen.
So, yes, I'm angry, but I don't have eternal patience with this. 5 years is long enough. I mean, we need to do some minor things that are appreciated. Just take a walk down here on Church. You got everything on Church. You got a lamp post, you got even the new construction that paved all the way to your house, Mr. Valentine. You got telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalk. Now, that's not right. You need to have a little outlet for that. Sure, there's 36 inches, but for a blind person, that makes a significant difference. I call upon everybody. We need to revisit this. We need to get this town accessible. It will help the tourists that come here. And these are minor changes. These aren't expensive changes, like a curb cut or a curb ramp. They're simple things. A little bit of concrete. If the city has insufficient funds to pay for those little minor projects, I'll foot the bill. I'll pay the bill if the city will provide the workers. How can you go wrong on that? I'll donate the money for the city to fix it. And I'm gonna ask you, Mr. Mayor, I want you to take a ride in my wheelchair. Or I want you to experience what it's like to traverse this city. I extend that invitation to you, Mr. Valentine. I challenge you to take a ride in my wheelchair. I'll even release the city of any damages to the wheelchair. I want you guys to ride it, and I'll make the same offer to council. Take a ride in my wheelchair. See how you like it. See how hard and difficult it is to get around. I think it would change your mindset. I mean, I'm willing to listen as well, but I'm not backing down. And I'm fully
That's your
prepared.
time, Mr. Hench, sorry.
I'll wind it up. I don't know how, I can't get through to Bob Just. He's a good guy, he listens. That's about all he does. And he does a few minor cosmetic changes, but poor guy's so overwhelmed he doesn't get anything done. Can I call upon the city council to look into this and get moving and access where it's needed? Can I at least do that, please? I want to work with you, but I don't have a lot of patience. I'm running out of it. So anything you can do to help the disabled community would be appreciated. I want you to take a ride, Mr. Valentine and Mr. Mayor, and see how it is riding in a wheelchair. I think it would open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Mr. Hollett?
Great segue. The obstacle is the way. I got with Les and said, Les, what can I do that I doesn't get me or anybody in trouble on the town council? And so I have a book thinking that
Thank you.
when we all kind of look at the same materials and we start looking at the same thing. So this is a book, it's called The Obstacle is the Way. Probably what you have to deal with all the time, but we can do that. Rusty, I have one for you, also for others. And this is a gift, and it's under $40, right?
Under 50, I believe.
Okay, so
Yeah, it is.
it was $15.
That's what he checked with me on.
It was $15. And again, the main thing, as you guys know, and Mr. Mayor, I respect you in the most high regard, okay? I'm not running against anybody, I'm running for some stuff. But I actually think that some of the challenges we have, some of these obstacles, there are problems and there are dilemmas. We have some dilemmas and those are tough. Some of the things maybe that Steve said, these are really tough things and not easy solutions. But there are other things that are a lot easier than that. So this was a gift. Steve, you probably should, Steve, Mr. Hammer, maybe it's a good idea to try and work to get maybe a task force. Maybe a group that actually have wheelchairs, that actually walk in your life and empower you guys to actually try and help us find those solutions, help us prioritize some of the roads that are there and some of those issues. If you're interested in actually working with folks, I know the people here are just good darn people, and they're really trying to do great work. So hopefully that can work out. Maybe there's a task force of disabled folks that actually are living that every day that can maybe help create the solutions and the priorities to move forward. And so I would encourage you to keep that before you pull out the big quiver and the big arrow from the quiver. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was good.
On item 5, consent agenda. 5A, approval of regular meeting minutes of August 17, 2021. And just to let you know, there was a minor typo under miscellaneous business, first paragraph, line 9, it says consume, it should read consuming. Si, could you, there's a mask out there, could you put one on? Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Jared and I are going to leave now. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
allowing
the
us to speak.
Item B, new lodging and
Sorry. Is there anything elevator? Can you hold that elevator door open?
Go
Well, I'd rather somebody have a mask, Frank. I got to prove I know I'm kind of an adamant person. But I'm threatened.
I'll shoot you. That was nice.
I put lipstick on, I just want you guys to.
I'm sorry, and I bet it's lovely. I bet it's lovely.
It was.
You know, our good friend Ted over there was going like this. I think he's complimenting my necktie, although I'm not sure.
tie.
He's either making fun of it.
to know where the purple shoes are.
I know, that's
Go with
right.
the tie.
And Tom and Councilman Ogletree, they're rocking the color over here.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's right. Yeah, really. Okay, that's right. Okay, I'm not gonna make small talk anymore, Mayor, I'm sorry. No, that was very nice of you, sir.
Okay, like I said, I mentioned line 5A. 5B is new lodging and entertainment liquor license application filed by Inspiring Sunshine LLC, doing business as Tri-Peak Theaters and Event Center at 3600 East Main Street. Set for public hearing at 6 p.m. on October 19, 2021, and the corporate city limits as the tentative neighborhood boundary. Ms. Duran, are you with us tonight? They are with us? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, we are, both Ray and myself.
All right, thank you very much. Item C, approval of modification to entertainment district. Report to allow T-Dad Toad LLC at 101 Americana Road to attach to the district. Tammy Hicks, are you listening with us tonight? I guess you're Tammy Hicks tonight, okay.
Good evening, Tammy.
That's
Yes.
Ms. Side. Thank you very much. Item D, approval of the issuance of letter of support regarding a major federal investment in rail and transportation infrastructure. One thing that I noticed that the letter did not show an addressee to that wasn't, that should be at the end of the letter, it should be Richard Harnish. Maybe that would be added to it, but I saw that we did not have to who it was to be addressed to. Item E, approval of the bills for $1,584,901. Item F, approval of payroll for September the 4th, 2021 to September the 17th, 2021. The 7/24 to 8/13, 2021, $415,468.28. And there was, I have a typo on mine, 8/7 to 8/27 at 416. What's the other one? I think I put one number down. 416, 745, 77. And then there was a correction of $38,235, and maybe we can get Ms. Navarrete to explain that correction and why that occurred. Ms. Navarrete? Who's there?
Our connection's bad.
Okay, well, we might have to get that later.
There we go.
Hi, this is Cheryl, can you hear me?
Yes, again.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, there was a correction on the payroll of $38,235. Could you explain what happened there?
I believe it's,
That might be.
Audra, is it payroll for power and light?
Yes.
Yes.
The $38,235 was a vacation sick payoff that was charged to wages during pay period 3. And so that's correcting it in the budget so that it hits the vacation sick payoff line item versus the wages. And then, similar situation with respect to the correction right above that. It was, the vacation sick payoff was not charged to sewer for 1/4 of that amount, and it should have been, and so there's another correction on that for pay period 16.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Could we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Second?
call roll, please.
DeBona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Riego,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 6, public hearings. 6A, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 4, offenses against minors of the Code of the City of Trinidad to include minors in possession. I can get my job. Anyway, hearing is now open. Ms. Sandoval, do you have anything to add to that?
Mayor, Ms. Sandoval is not with us this evening. I told her I would handle
Okay.
this.
Okay.
And so if I may, Mayor and council members, as you will recall, this was on a work session agenda, and also Mayor's going to get his gavel, because I'm speaking. I'm just kidding. He's always liking to have the gavel when Les talks. No, I'm sorry. But I mean, this has been the subject of conversation before. This is so that law enforcement can cite people into municipal court for minors in possession of alcohol or marijuana. So, any questions or anything?
Mr. DeBono?
No, sir.
Mr. Ogletree?
I have no questions.
Mr. Williamson?
I have no question, Mayor.
Mr. Goodall?
Nothing.
Okay. Ms. Grego?
Nothing.
Ms. Shu?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone listening in wants to speak for or against the ordinance change? Not? Hearing is closed. Item 6A1, second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 4, offenses against minors of the Code of the City of Trinidad to include minors in possession. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call a vote, please.
DeBona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Riego,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 6B, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, offenses against property of the Code of the City of Trinidad to include theft. Hearing is now open, and I guess, Mr. Downs?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Same situation here, although this is to enable us to be able to prosecute primarily petty theft matters also in municipal court. And that is why this proposed ordinance is being submitted to you.
Okay. Questions from council? Mr. DeBonne?
No, Mr. Mayor, none at this time.
No questions.
Mr. Williamson? Mr. Goodall?
Nothing.
Mr. Grego?
No, sir. No.
Okay. Call vote, please. No, no, sorry about that. Was it? That was, anyone to speak for or against? Close the hearing. Item 6B1, second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, offenses against property of the Code of the City of Trinidad to include theft. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call a vote, please.
DeBona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Riego,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 7, unfinished business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. 8A, memorandum of understanding between Los Angeles County, the City of Trinidad, the Nature Conservancy, and the Trust for Public Land. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. DeBono.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Ogletree.
I have no questions.
Mr. Williamson.
No question, Mayor.
Mr. Goodall.
I have nothing.
Okay, Ms. Grego.
No, sir, nothing.
Mr. Shu?
No.
I have nothing there either. We've already had that discussion unless Mr.
Yeah.
Valentine's or something else you want to discuss.
The only
there?
thing I would add, Mayor, is that the county had this on their agenda this afternoon, and it was approved by the county, so.
Good.
Okay. Okay, no further discussion, call the vote?
Turner,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 8B, resolution authorizing expenditure of marijuana revenue received by the city of Trinidad. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? Second, I guess.
Second.
Miss Navarette.
Good evening, council. Tonight you are presented a resolution allocating $1,176,438 in marijuana sales tax collected during the second quarter of 2021. 65% or $667,185 is allocated to city projects and purchases as recommended by staff. 30% or $307,931 is allocated to the rainy day reserve fund, and 4% or $41,058 is allocated to the incentives program, and finally 1% is allocated to Trinidad Community Foundation in the amount of $10,264.
It looks like that takes up the entire allocation, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. See if council has any questions. Mr. DeBonne?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Ogletree?
I have none.
Mr. Williamson?
No question, Mayor.
Mr. Goodall?
I have none.
Okay, Ms. Grego?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And it's not about these figures in particular, but I remember several months ago when we talked about the reserves or the rainy day funds, you had mentioned that someone had told you that we didn't have to specify what those funds were for, that it could just be, did you ever get
I
any?
never did get a complete answer from that. I did another thing. Let me write that down. I'll look
Okay.
into it further. Okay, I'll do that.
All
I'll
right.
try to get the answer next time.
Okay, thank you. No further
Mr.
questions.
Shu?
No question.
Okay. I have no questions. Call the vote, please.
Rivera,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item C, resolution authorizing the renewal of health insurance benefits for city employees and their dependents through CEBT Healthcare for plan year January 1, 2022 through December the 31st, 2022. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Garrett? Do you want to go through anything with us on this?
Well, it's kind of nice to not really have to go through anything. I just see from the council communication, the city will realize no increase for our health insurance renewal for next year. So budgeting is very easy, not only for the city, but for our employees.
That's good to hear. Okay. Let's get some questions, if any, from council. Mr. DeBonne?
That was my first question, what percentage of increase would it be from last year? So she already answered it.
Okay, Ms. Ogletree?
No, I think it's straightforward.
Mr. Williamson? Mr. Goodall?
None.
Okay, here,
No, sir, no questions.
Frank?
No, none.
Okay. Call the vote, please.
Rivera,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item D, consideration of 2022 property casualty and workers' compensation renewal quotes received from CIRSA. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. Ms. Garrett, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing except that I needed to change my council communication this afternoon. So if you looked at the previous one, a couple of numbers were inverted with the total premium for property casualty versus work comp. So now it makes a lot more sense. Both property casualty and work comp realized a little bit of an increase, but nothing super substantial. The net annual increase for the combined coverage is $29,099.
Okay. Discussion from council, Mr. Bono?
Maybe just, are there any other quotes from any other entities or?
Ms. Garrett?
We haven't solicited quotes for probably the last 30 years. It's pretty difficult to beat the premiums that CIRSA offers because it's made up of a pool of other government entities. And in addition to just the premiums being most cost effective for the city, our representation from CIRSA and their attorneys has been exceptional.
That's great.
It has.
Thank you.
Ogletree, any other questions?
No, sir.
Ms. Ogletree?
Councilwoman Griego probably knows this, but what does impact of loss experience mean? What is that?
So just as it implies, the loss experience that the city has results in our premium being impacted. And so you can see how our claims have affected our premiums throughout the various years. So you can look at, for instance, 2019 and see, I don't have that sheet on there, you can see where property casualty saw a loss impact that was pretty significant, and it matches those hand in hand with the city's net annual increase to our premium.
Okay, that makes sense. I just was curious about that. I read through all of this, and the only question I had was, would it be wise for the city to do a deductible analysis that they were suggesting?
So that's something that we have visited in the past as well, where we look at the deductible, but really and truly, we've had the same deductible for a number of years because it makes the most sense based on the losses that we have in number and also in the dollar value of those losses. So it definitely makes the most sense. We don't save a whole lot of money by increasing our deductibles, and that savings doesn't outweigh the additional deductible portion. So for instance, if we had an additional $500 deductible, so $1,500 deductible, we wouldn't necessarily see that much of a savings for the number of claims that we sustain in a year.
Okay, I just wondered if that was the only thing that I really was concerned about. It looks like we've done a good job complying with CIRSA's loss control standards, so we're getting a credit on that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Williamson?
No questions, Mayor.
No,
Thank you.
No questions.
Mr. Goodall, have any questions?
I have none.
Okay, I don't have any either. Call vote, please.
Corona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Griego,
yes,
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. On to item 9, council reports, starting with Mr. DeBono.
Well, the usual meeting of the Los Angeles County Veterans Council is on the first Monday of the month, which was yesterday, so they won't have it until the 13th, so I didn't attend anything. And other than that, I interviewed Dawn Siebel. She's the artist that hand-painted the 343 portraits of the firefighters that lost their lives during 9/11. And it was a great interview. And of course, I think all of us were invited to the reception this Saturday night at 5 o'clock, which I plan to attend. And I interviewed Rodney Wood, the Artocade extravaganza, I guess, is going to roll into Trinidad this weekend. So that's kind of a neat thing. And other than that, Mr. Mayor, that's about it.
Good. Ms. Ogletree?
In line with the announcement about Don Siebel's exhibit about Better Angels, the Space to Create Commons Oversight Board is going to have a public meeting, work session, this Thursday morning at 11 for anyone who's interested in walking through the Commons area with Steve Larson of H.W. Houston Construction, who's going to explain an update on the start of phase 1 and what's going to happen then and the demolition progress in the common area. So the chairman of that board asked me to pass that along to anyone in the public, any staff member, any city council member who's interested in attending. If you have any questions, it'd be a good time to come.
What date is that again?
It's Thursday at 11 a.m. And I think they're going to meet in the Creative District office at 210 West Main Street, which is where the exhibit is beforehand. And then the Arts and Council Advisory Commission is still working on plaque placement. So.
That it? Okay. Williamson?
I have to apologize. I missed the last library board meeting. I'm going to speak to Jessica and bring anything back that I need to. Other than that, Mayor, I do not have an update.
I do like what's happening at the library though, on the outside. It looks,
Isn't that nice?
yeah,
It's,
thank you.
it's coming along.
Really
That's
nice.
good. Mr. Goodall?
I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Grego?
I have a few things, so please indulge. Give me a few minutes here.
Start your time.
Yeah, that's right.
Do I have 5 minutes?
No, you have all the time you want. I never can interrupt a council.
Oh, okay, thank you. I feel it's my obligation to address some issues that were brought up to me by citizens and some of the information that was passed on to me that was given at the Blues Fest as well. I did really get 6 calls starting Saturday night about what was going on, the MC at the Blues Festival. But that's not for me to respond to. What I want to respond to is the sentiment that council is not going to approve the Blues Fest. I don't think in our past actions that I've ever seen anything that would indicate that. I will tell you for Eli and Aaron, and the 2 Aarons that weren't here, in 2019, we restructured the marijuana money, and what we did is we lowered the amount that we were giving to nonprofits. If you can see tonight, the nonprofit share is only 1%. Used to be 10, if I remember correctly. Okay, so at that point, on February 5th of 2019, we passed Resolution 1591, and I have it here. And what it basically says, just indulge me for a while. At that point, it was 5% for nonprofits. Now it's dropped 1%. But it says, and this is what we have allocated nonprofit money for from that day forward. 5% agency level support will be allocated to Trinidad nonprofits seeking one-time or short duration funding. Funding per agency will be considered for up to 3 years and shall not exceed 50% of the organization's total annual operating costs. The city manager is authorized to allocate expenditures up to $3,000 over and above or in addition to. So I don't know if people knew that or not. It's not that we have anything against any nonprofit. It was the council's feeling at that time, that it would be better off for the city, for the well-being of the city, to use that money for capital improvements like what we approved tonight with the marijuana money, the police equipment, the equipment upgrades and things like that. So that being said, I look back I got some information, and over the past 4 years, and this is including the $10,000 that we allocated tonight for the Blues Festival. And it's not, for those of you that aren't aware, it's not coming from marijuana money exclusively. The Tourism Board also funds part of the Blues Fest. After the past 4 years, we have allocated a total of $214,000 to the Blues Fest specifically. So I take exception that the council is against the Blues Fest. We are not. But what we did do in 2019, and I can't address if it was done prior to that, we wanted accountability. We wanted financial statements and actual figures as to how sustainable your nonprofit is, how sustainable your event is. Because obviously the city doesn't have the financial wherewithal to continue on indefinitely. So I just want to bring that forward. If we ask tough questions, we ask it of all nonprofits. It's not just the Blues Festival. And so recently, now we've all been on council. Now the Community Foundation takes care of that because staff here at City Hall could not vet those nonprofits like we did in the past. So that's kind of like a history, but I rest assured to people that heard that the city is not gonna fund the Blues Festival. We don't know. All of you know, it being on this council, being as managers of the treasury of this community, it's our decisions are fluid. We ebb and flow with what's going on in the community. And maybe next year we can, maybe we can't. I don't know, but it's not, we don't have a target on the Blues Festival, is what I want to put out there. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you for bringing that information out.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And then one more thing. The chamber is revamping their website and their email address. I looked on the website today and it says that luncheons are $100 a piece. And I sent the chamber an email and asked them if that was correct or not. Starting in October, they're saying they're charging $100 per person for lunch. I'm hoping that's a typo. I don't know what that
It used to be 15.
It'd be 12.
12, that's right.
You kind
It was 12. you're
So
right.
I'm on it as the liaison. I'm gonna try and find that
Next city
out.
thing going on at the chamber. I'm just kidding.
And then
Of course, meal.
tomorrow, from 3 to 5, people have been asking us about the animal shelter. And Pat Fletcher and I have been talking, and they are going, there's a few people, they're putting together kennels at the shelter tomorrow from 3 to 5. So if any of you council people want to just go by and see what it looks like, you know, when there's finished work on a project of that size, it's going to take a while.
In other words, bring your screwdrivers.
No,
Yeah.
they don't want us amateurs anywhere near them.
That's-
So if you're interested, go by Noah's tomorrow from 3 to 5. And they'll show you the Rotary Club, Pat, did you tell me?
Yeah, the Rotary's been helping. It's all volunteers putting this
Yes.
together, and
Yes.
it is quite a job.
Yes.
So bring your screwdrivers and pliers and anything you can do.
Okay, I think I've said my say.
Okay. Mr. Shu?
Follow that up.
That's right. Always looking Mike's way.
Yeah, I'm looking too. The only thing I want to bring up is that, you know, at one of our work sessions, I'd like to go over the
weed control and the streets and some of the stuff that Mr. Hamer brought up too. I think we need to really get on that. If, you know, I don't know what exactly the orders was, we were supposed to make it a little tougher on people with weeds and stuff. And just as an example, down here on the parade route, there by the Eagles and that area there, we're just loaded with weeds. And I mean, that's embarrassing for our community. And I'm not saying the city, those people should be cutting their own weeds and everything else, and everybody else does. And that's what I'd like to bring up at one of the work sessions and see if we can change the ordinance and find out exactly. And I'm sure we have something on the books now that they're supposed to cut, but it isn't working. And we need to get that done and clean up the street areas. And like I say, I was going to bring that up about what Mr. Hamer was saying on some of those areas that were not very good. So, and also a good thing about maybe bringing some more stuff about the Blues Fest too, on how it was run. As far as where it was and everything else. Because some of the other people have complained about businesses too, that closing down Main Street is not a real good idea. So that's my only comments.
Okay.
And if we ever work on Garfield, so I want to keep bringing that
up. Not this last Friday, but Friday before last, there was an emergency management meeting from the health department concerning the COVID-19 concerns that we have right now with the, especially with the Delta variant that is out there. And and that's kind of what prompted, even after that, why we decided to talk about us masking here in city council chambers. But this variant has become very ugly, which we're all hearing. If you read the papers, if you listen to the newspapers, we are all hearing how bad it is. And matter of fact, I saw today, they said it's twice as bad as, it was more than that, than the COVID of last year. So it's really, really concerning. So we're hearing the numbers of even the school districts here in Trinidad. My great-grandkids go to school, one of them, and he was at school for 3 days and they shut his grade down, him and 3 other grades. So, and it's happening throughout the entire school districts up and down, here in just Los Angeles County. And then what's really bothersome is to hear, somebody, whether it's organizations or an individual, talking against the health department and the decisions that they're trying to make to keep us safe. I think, to me, I take offense to that because, we as leaders of our community, like you said the other day, we need to lead by example, and we need to be rowing all in the same direction. So if you have an organization out there that is writing against masking, against vaccinations, that is not something that they should be doing. We should all be working together as organizations, as city council, as county commissioners, whatever. We're all in the same boat. And we have safety is priority above everything else. And safety includes health. So I think we just need to be very, very careful as to, I have not heard anybody from here on council say anything, but I have heard it otherwise, just to let you guys know. But I thank you guys for asking up tonight, for being here. I really do appreciate that. A second item, I attended a meeting, the Office of Health Innovation from the Lieutenant Governor's office here a week ago. And it was a technology roadmap update, and they have 3 goals that they are trying to accomplish. One is to have providers, payers, community partners, and state and local agencies can share data and have easy, trusted, and secure access to needed health and social information. Goal number 2, and they can access virtual and remote health services that are coordinated with in-person care through secure and trusted information and technology systems. Item 3, Colorado improves health equity through the broad use of secure and trusted health IT and digital health solutions. So it really boils down to technologies to cross from one doctor to another to be able to access information when somebody goes to the hospitals. So it was kind of interesting to listen to them. Also attended, and I think Ms. Ogletree, I think you were there, and I'm not sure if anybody else went to that Cali Realty grand opening and talked to, I guess Cato is his name, that's working with him and trying to find, he's trying to find, I guess, contractors to come to Trinidad to build. That's kind of what I'm hearing that he would like to find. So, it's different right now. Also attended, Mr. Goodall was there, also went to Fort Carson to the general commander change. They do that every 2 years. They flip them every 2 years. So we went up to that. It's really kind of a nice event to go to. The Bueno proclamation that they asked me to read, and just to let you know that Audra, she did a wonderful job of that proclamation, and it was very well received by the family. The family was the one that asked for it, if we could do something. They also organized a small parade of cars that went up there, but when I was reading the proclamation to them, Mr. Bueno, he almost cried. So he's 91 years old, so it was very heartfelt. We that are in Trinidad, we've known that family for years and years, so great guy. The Greenway Foundation was here last week and kind of went over some of the stuff, Mr. Valentine. I want to cover that a little bit more. Another thing that I wanted to mention is I asked Mr. Valentine last week and on our one-on-one, what happened this last winter in other parts of the country with the gas and electrical. And we were very fortunate. Mr. Valentine, our gas department, they had stockpiled enough gas to where we didn't get hit with a spike in pricing. So I was asking him about, how it was, our winter gas storage, maybe hedging some gas if it's possible. And he may want to talk a little bit about that too, but I think that's a concern because we just don't know what the winters are going to be like. And I think what they did in Texas with the electrical system, I think that was criminal. And because you just don't do that to consumers, but they did it down there. But I'm glad that we were able to, hold our own here in Trinidad. Thank you, Mr. Valentine, for you and your crew for doing what you did there. Also mentioned to him that I think it would be good going forward, and we've gotten away from it simply because of COVID-19, to continue on with the boards and commissions training. Because as time goes on, you may get some new chair people, new vice chairs that run the boards and commission meetings, and it'd be good for them to all understand just like what we do here, your agenda, how to follow the agenda, what entails calling to an item, to vote on, executive sessions if they get into it. So I think it'd be good for them to get some training periodically, especially when there's a new person on board. Lori gave the Amtrak shelter update, and I think someone mentioned about the Better Angels next weekend. I think we talked about that. I think that's going to be a terrific event this weekend. I want to bring this up, and this bugs the heck out of me. Over the last couple of 2-3 months, an organization called the Trinidad Alliance keeps bad-mouthing against Trinidad again. I do not understand the reasoning behind that. And to me, I think that if an organization of any kind, they should be able to apply the name as to who this group is. So last week, for instance, they were talking about the brick streets and why the brick streets were not done. Talking to Mr. Valentine, and he was saying what's happened is that these bricks are pulled up and they're falling apart. So they got to try to find someone to, make new bricks. And it's not like we're not doing anything. And the way you made it sound is like we're not doing a doggone thing to remedy the situation. And they are trying, but it takes time. You got to, contract all these things out. And there's other things that this Trinidad Alliance, and I think they're just totally misinformed. And I think if they have a complaint, they should be able to apply their name to it. They should be able to walk in here and say, I have a complaint, I want to talk to you about it. Rather than paste it all over the newspaper, and give the community the sense of information that is not accurate. This country the world right now, especially this country, is full of misinformation. And that's not good. We don't need that in Trinidad. If we have a problem, please come sit here in front of us and say, can you explain to me why you're doing this or why you're not doing this? So I really believe that, like I said, it really has gotten my goat, and I thought I'd better bring it up tonight. Sorry for that. But that's
Les
it.
Downs moment there.
Yeah, that's right.
Your turn.
Go, Mayor, go, Mayor.
Mr.
I'm
Valentine,
sorry.
your turn.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so I'll start with the Greenway Foundation. I know that you all know Jeff Shoemaker. We hired the Greenway Foundation to do a river visioning process for the purgatory from Linden here to I-25. Through the process, they've had a couple of public meetings, and they're down to finalizing some sort of vision and presenting it. We kind of got a glimpse of it last week. Through the process, Mr. Shoemaker, who is well connected, has been in contact with GOCO, and GOCO is now not doing smaller grants. They'd like to do centennial grants, is what they're calling it, and centennial for upwards of $10 million. And they want to do an all-encompassing grant for a city like ours. We're being kind of, it's good. I mean, they're talking, okay, don't just ask for the river, ask for the river with trails to Fisher's Peak, to, just bring it all encompassing. So that river visioning is turning into a greater vision, and it's exciting. And we should be able to show some big, bold, and beautiful, that's Mr. Shoemaker's words, plans,
That's good, Mike. That's good, big, bold, beautiful.
Right.
Exactly, that's right.
He's thinking outside the box on a lot of this, and boy, if we can do it, it's going to be good. So yeah.
Do we have to put in a month for that grant?
For the 10 million, they're thinking it's a 10% match, so that'd be 1 million to get 10. So it'd be a $11 million project.
Emergency.
And we have set aside 1 million money for the river walk, so that could be, yep.
Will they?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, will they ask for more input, Mike?
The
Riverwalk?
the visioning,
Yeah.
they'll have one more meeting for the community. But they did have that initial meeting where people would put dots on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of what they like, so, yeah. As far as the gas and what happened in Texas during that cold snap and freeze, we have, council has approved every 3 years, I think we have a no notice storage contract. In other words, with that contract with our pipeline network, CIG, no notice storage means if we have the ability to purchase a little bit of gas, we're able to no notice and just store it. Of course, we have a storage amount, but it's sufficient to get the city through times like the mayor mentioned, and we continue with that. NPGA does a great job for us, the National Public Gas Association that we're members, to nominate gas and to make sure that they're tracking all those for us and putting gas in storage and purchasing when prices are down. And so a lot of credit goes to NPGA. The only other thing I have is just to give you a heads up. I don't know if you remember Michael Yerman from SCED. He presented on the incentive type package. Well, Sky is on board now, and Sky's been working with them, and they will be coming forward, and it looks like September 13th will be the first session with council. It'll be a pretty good work session for to see where you stand with incentives and what's available and how we mold moving forward. And Sky's been working with Michael, and it'll be good. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Mayor, thank you, Mayor, council members. Just a couple of quick things. We received written confirmation of the fact that the landfill is in compliance. So we had, we got the letter, and I will send that to all of you. It was kind of short, but the state officials who came down here and went on that tour, they told us it looked good, as we had reported to you previously, but we received the written confirmation that there are no violations at the landfill. So that was welcome news, and no fines therefore shall be forthcoming. The only other thing I wanted to say is, to the mayor's point about the ballot initiative on the increase on the marijuana tax proposal, there was a good email today that Mike sent that I think was from Debbie Wagner. I just saw it real quickly, and there are 3 attachments in that email, and the first one kind of talks about the proposal. The second attachment was kind of helpful because it had a checklist of all the communities and what categories they opt in to regarding marijuana. No, Trinidad does not check all the boxes, just in case you're wondering. I'm just kidding. But it's a helpful kind of list. That was the second attachment. And then the third one was a newspaper article that talks about where the money would go if the ballot initiative was approved. I'm sorry for those of you that have already read it. I just want to encourage everybody to look at those things, because I thought it was interesting that a lot of the money is earmarked for kids who stay home, who homeschool. Yeah, that was in the newspaper article. So if you open that third attachment and read that, that's one of the things it talks about. But I just thought that was very helpful. And to your point earlier in the meeting, Mayor, you may want to have a broader discussion on that proposal in a work session and talk about that more fully. But that is all I have.
I really believe that we need to have that discussion with you to see if you feel like we should maybe take a stand on that.
Sure.
And I do know that there are 2 owners in Trinidad already that want to,
Come
are
forward.
opposing it.
Yeah.
They're not opposing, I'm sure others will probably do the same. Here's the thing is interesting, is that anytime that there is a proposal like this, the first thing we want to do is say, let's give it to the children, let's give it to
Right.
the kids, let's
That's
give it to the
right.
school. But if you talk to some of the educators, I've talked to an educator that was in the system for 30 years, and I've talked to a couple of people, and they say, money is not the answer to the education system. It's partial, but it is not the answer. So that's the first thing that they try to hang their hat on. And but you can throw all the money that you want at it, but it's not going to change the fact of some of the issues. And of course, this year, they're tying a lot of this to the COVID-19 issue, if you
Right.
read that.
Right.
And it's kind of like they're throwing all of everything in the dishwater to see what sticks.
That's right.
So, but I think that's a discussion I think we should probably have.
Did I also see, and I'm sorry if I just, if I'm mistaken on this, but there's a kind of a counter proposal or a reaction to that, which would be a commensurate reduction in property taxes for funding schools that would have to be made up elsewhere. And the legislature has made provisions for that.
Yeah.
I was kind of reading all this in a rushed fashion this afternoon, but it's a very interesting conversation. I think it would be very helpful to have that discussion and maybe have some people from the marijuana industry, maybe have, Debbie Wagner, and I would be happy to do, all the studying on the subject that I could and make a recommendation or, at least give you the pros and cons with respect to this.
Being that that's coming up as a ballot question, we should probably try to have that as soon as possible.
Good point.
I just believe over the last 20 years, legislation has been the ruination of a lot of education. That has a lot to do with education. Rules, regulations,
Yeah.
it's just,
Good point.
you know, the average teaching time in an average classroom now is about 18 minutes,
Yeah, you were in the classroom for how many years?
34 years.
So you understand
Wow.
it completely.
Wow.
And,
It is not all about money.
Right. It'll be a good
Yeah,
conversation.
so let's consider that, let's put that down like this, and just have a conversation. Any other thoughts? Call for adjournment? So roll, please, second, I guess, Frank, the second?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Call the roll, please.
Savona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Greenfield,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Duke,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Good
you, man.
evening.
Thank you.
Pretty good.
The only things